You ever have one of those moments where the world tilts on its axis, and suddenly, every scar from your past feels like it's on fire? That's how it hit me that night. The beef stew piping hot, chunks of tender beef and soft potatoes bobbing in a rich onion-laced broth cascaded right over my head. I felt the scalding liquid ignite my scalp like 1,000 tiny sparks, trickle down my temples, and saturate my silver-streaked hair. The kind I'd spent an hour curling that very afternoon just to feel a flicker of normalcy. Bits of carrot and onion pattered onto my collar like unwelcome confetti. The earthy aroma of the stew clashed with the subtle jasmine of my favorite cologne, turning my stomach even before the pain set in. But the real burn, it wasn't the heat searing my skin, it was the hush that followed. 20 pairs of eyes locked on me from around the table and the shadowed corners of the room. Not a soul stirred, not a whisper broke the air. My brother, Victor, rose like some ham actor in a bad play, his lips curling into that smug half-grin he'd honed over 45 years of skating through life on charm and other people's goodwill. He jabbed a finger toward the front door, his voice booming with rehearsed drama. "You've got 10 minutes to clear out of my home," he declared. 10 minutes to vanish from my life for good. Sophia, that porcelain doll of a woman with her painted-on grins and hollow embraces, stayed glued to her seat, her manicured hands folded like she was at a polite tea party. Then, as if on cue, she began to applaud, slow at first, deliberate claps that echoed off the vaulted ceilings, building to a crescendo. The guest Victor's so-called inner circle, lurking in the adjacent den like extras waiting for their Cupidon. The ovation swelled, mocking and merciless. Like chimes tolling for a buried dream, I dabbed at my face with the linen napkin clutched in my fist, drawing a steadying breath amid the sting. 67 years of slights, of being the afterthought in my own story, funneled into this one blistering instant. Yet something deep within me didn't shatter. It forged itself anew, sharp as a scalpel. I slipped a hand into my leather satchel, the one I carried everywhere. A quiet fortress of secret sand withdrew a sturdy craft envelope, its edges crisp from years of careful storage. I flung it onto the mahogany dining table, where it burst open amid the half-eaten plates and flickering tea light. Papers fluttered like fallen leaves across the linen runner. "Spot on," I replied, my tone as chilled as a winter gale. "In 10 minutes, everything you've claimed as yours, it'll be gone like smoke." To grasp how I'd landed here, stew dripping from my lashes and retribution coiled in my grip, we have to rewind. Way back to when I was a ghost of a girl in a bungalow brimming with chatter that skipped my name like a stone on water. I learned early on that I was surplus, a footnote in the family ledger. My brother Victor, he was the sun around which we all orbited. Every milestone of his, however modest, was exalted like he'd split the atom, a middling report card in algebra. My mother Lydia threw a backyard barbecue with string lights and grilled ribs, a single touchdown in Pee Wee soccer. My father, Harlan, rallied the block for beers and tall tales. Me, straight A's stacked like cordwood, earned a vague thumbs up over breakfast cereal, a regional spelling bee trophy, a murmured "not bad," Alina from behind the morning paper, eyes never lifting. I can still picture that one Yuletide when I was 12. Victor unwrapped a gleaming chrome skateboard, the kind with neon wheels that hummed against pavement he'd wind for it since Labor Day. He whooped, barreling into Mom's arms, and the Polaroids from that frenzy still lurk in some dusty box I swore off long ago. My gift, a woolen scarf, oversized and olive drab, pilfered from a thrift bin, reeking of cedar closets, and bearing a faint ink blot on the fringe. I plastered on a smile, chirping "thanks so much," because that's the script they handed me, perpetually thankful. Perpetually unseen. Victor trashed that skateboard by spring, left it baking in the summer sun until the bearings seized. But there was always a replacement gleaming under the tree for him. Always. The sole beacon in that fog was my grandfather, Edmund. When I drifted into a room, his gaze would spark like dawn breaking. When I piped up, he'd lean in, absorbing every syllable as if it were a sonnet etched in gold. "Elena," he'd murmur during our rambles through his wildflower meadow, alive with lavender and honeysuckle, "there's a spark in your stare, fierce as a comet. Guard it. Let no one snuff it out." I was 14 the first time those words landed. They didn't click fully then, but I tucked them away like a locket against my heart. Grandpa Edmund had been a pioneering neurologist, hanging up his stethoscope before I drew breath. But his study groaned with leather-bound tomes on synapses and shadows of the mind. He'd usher me in, let me perch in his threadbare wingback chair, and spin yarns of futures too bold for a sidelined kid to claim. Fancy becoming a healer, Alina? He'd quiz one golden afternoon, sunlight slanting through leaded panes. Oh yes, I'd blurt, pulse quickening, I want to etch my mark on the world, something that echoes. His grin folded his cheeks into warm creases. Then, etch you shall, and when you rise, they'll grasp what they overlooked, what slipped through their fingers like sand, but my kin never grasped it. At 17, I snagged a full ride to State University for neuroscience, my transcripts a fortress of excellence. Mom glanced up from her crossword, tone flat as diode soda. Handy, you'll be swamped, I reckon. Dad muttered about the grind, how it'd wear me thin. Victor snorted over his video game console. Bet you flame out by midterms, girls, like you aren't wired for the heavy stuff. Grandpa Edmund whisked me to a cozy bistro overlooking the river. Just us two. We clinked sparkling cider flutes, no spirits yet for my tender age. To Dr. Lalina, he toasted, eyes twinkling, the force that'll reshape horizons. That evening, alone in my cramped attic room, I wept not from sorrow, but from the raw cocktail of thanks and ache. Thanks for one ally in my corner. Ache because that ally should have been the rule, not the rarity. College was a crucible. I pored over texts, till my vision blurred, juggled graveyard shifts, slinging lattes at a corner cafe, snatched for hours of sleep on a lumpy on the brink of crumbling. I'd summon Grandpa's mantra, that unquenchable spark. He enrolled in marketing at a community branch, tuition footed by Mom and Dad, plus a sporty hatchback and a loft apartment off campus. He flunked freshman year twice, drowning in keggers hookups that fizzled weekly and hangovers that blurred boundaries. Our parents waved it off. He's carving his path, Mom cooed. Lads need leeway, Dad grumbled. I emerged, top of my class in 4 years flat. Victor dragged it to 8 for a degree that could have been 4. His graduation gala, a lavish affair at the Lakeside Pavilion, 80 revelers, a jazz quartet, a cake towering like a wedding tier. Mine, Grandpa and I at a quaint seafood spot, candlelit and intimate. My folks begged off for a vague commitment. Victor ghosted my invites. Elena Grandpa confided over lobster bisque that night, his gaze aglow with quiet fire. Hold this truth close. Kin by blood. It's a myth. Real bonds spot your glow amid the gloom. I couldn't know then how those words would bloom into prophecy. How, decades on, amid stew-soaked fury and a chorus of false applause, they'd peal like victory chimes. My internship was a gauntlet of shadows. 48-hour vigils in the OG's fluorescent haze. Fingers quivering as I closed gashes under buzzing lights. Split-second calls on frayed nerves and lukewarm vending machine tea. There were nights my bones screamed for surrender, but I pressed on. Each crisis averted, a gauntlet thrown at the doubters. Each grateful clasp from a mending soul. Proof my thread in the tapestry mattered, beyond being the overlooked offspring. Grandpa Edmund popped in whenever duty allowed, toting Tupperware brimming with his rosemary roasted potatoes and herb-crusted lamb meals I'd wolf down in stolen breaks. He'd claim a vinyl booth in the staff lounge, nursing black coffee for an hour just to steal 10 minutes of chatter. I'm bursting with pride. Petal, he'd beam, words a lifeline in the storm. I craved them like oxygen. For home visits on my scant-free Sundays, spun endless yarns of Victor's ventures. He'd pivoted to flipping vintage cars, no 9-to-5 drudgery for him. He was a mogul in embryo. Mom and Dad beamed, fronting him 70 grand for a garage startup that folded in 10 months, rusty relics he couldn't shift. Overheads devouring the rest. Lessons learned, they shrugged, ponying up 40 more for his sequel, a pop-up food truck empire. Pre-foodie craze, it could have sparked. Victor lacked the blueprint. Shoddy hires, glitchy POS systems, promo blitz before wheels turned copet in 7. I wrapped my internship, diving into neuro-oncology fellowship, the arena where averages dare not tread. I craved the summit the slackers couldn't scale. For grueling years, honing precision under titans, jetting to symposia in Vienna and Seoul on my dime. Devouring journals like parched earth drinks rain. It paid off. At 39, I claimed the helm of neuro-oncology at Lakeside Memorial, a perch envied by vets twice my tenure. I dialed home, palms slick with thrill. For once, I dared dream of fanfare, of them beholding their eclipsed daughter. Mom picked up mid-sip of tea. Alina, everything all right? Quite the reverse, actually. I've been tapped as head of neuro-oncology at Lakeside, topped her gig nationwide. The line went tombstone. I checked for a disconnect. Mom. Yes, dear, splendid, kudos. Call back later. Prepping Victor's Boshi landed backers for his eco-tour outfit. Big to-do. Click. I slumped against my stark kitchen tiles, sobs racking till hollow. 39, and still famished for their gaze. Grandpa rang that twilight, his radar for my fractures uncanny. Alina, my starling, your mum spilled on the promotion she ought to frame your name in lights. This is monumental. They don't give a damn, Grandpa, I rasped, throat raw. Never have. I love. Buff, heed this. They're chill. Don't dim your blaze. You're forged in your forge wit, grit, grace, and when the hour ripens, they'll rue the gem they fumbled. Mark me, I puzzled over that ripening hour. But Grandpa wove futures like riddles. Victor torched those back-a-bucks in 11 months, his green getaway tours, a scam veiled in leaf motifs, hawking phantom packages, pocketing deposits. Litigants circled. Mom and Dad coughed up 50 grand for hush money. Victor, untouched, unscathed, he crossed paths with Sophia, then a Piawese, raven locks eternally tousled, grin calibrated for boardrooms, flawless poise, the sort who glides through gaps. I clocked her artifice from jump, but Victor, she'd stroke his vanity like our folks did nuptial. A spectacle at the Vineyard Estate Grant, bankrolled by Lydia and Harlan. I drew an obligatory seat at the fringes, by tangential ants amid wilting roses. Dad's toast droned 20 minutes on Victor's grit. Tumbles he'd bankrolled, hurdles he'd greased. Grandpa, at my elbow, gripped my knuckles under the damask when tears pricked. Bide, lass, he breathed. Tides turn. Victor and Sophia nested in a split-level craftsman, courtesy of parental seed cash for beds. A sunroom, picket fence in a leafy suburb. Modest dreams for most me, pulling 6 figures to Victor's peak halls. I'd solo snagged a sleek Pi Terra downtown years prior, cozier footprint, but wholly mine, brick by brick. Time marched. My ascent soared. Articles in global journals, keynotes in Zurich, Mumbai, Seattle. I tackled tumors deemed inoperable, yanked souls from the brink. Docs trailed me like pilgrims. Interns begged shadows in my ore. My profile etched med-circuit spaneled profiles. The works, kin, crickets, my TEDx on neural mapping. Mom nitpicked my hem. Dad griped, my cadence rushed. Victor skipped it. Grandpa taped it on cassette, replayed it thrice over veal piccata at our hideaway. One day, he vowed, fork poised, they'll parade your triumphs as theirs the lauded Dr. Alina, their pride. Recall then who cheered when you were unseen. Victor's flops mounted as my wins piled, yet his bluster ballooned, buffered by endless parental padding. Poster flop, he eyed artisanal breweries. Sophia ditched her steady gig for the lark. We'll brew fortunes, he crowed, delusioned his muse. 80 grand from the folks for vats, and a taproom that leaked like a faulty plumbing. Sour batches, market soured, he dumped at fire sale rates. Blame, craft beer, bubble burst. Suppliers stiffed me. Never my call. From my vantage sterile suites, grateful handshakes, eyed him with a cocktail of sorrow and scorn. Sorrow for the man-child leeching at 42. Scorn for his shrug at accountability. At 44, I tossed a rope. Phoned a drizzly Thursday. Victor, words your scouting gigs. I know execs at clinic up steady rolls, solid pay, his bark, a jagged grunt work. Clocking in for suits. Alina, I'm no cog. Visionary, that's me. You wouldn't get it patching brains for Boff Saint Empire building. I severed the line, olive branch charred. Final outreach. Grandpa, 89 now, faltered vascular woes. My wheelhouse, irony. I poured his scans, looped in elite peers, orchestrated top-shelf care, stole every sliver of time, suppers in his sunlit conservatory, where he'd regale with tales of trailblazing craniotomies, patience etched eternal. He'd evoke Grangon Primi, with devotion so vivid it painted love tangible. Alina, he broached one stormy eve, parlor aglow with brass lamps amid oak stacks. Gravity calls I must unburden. Dread iced my veins. No such talk. You've oceans of days, where physicians, both charts line not. My pump's weary, and that's fair. Full span, mostly joy, but legacy. It bends to intent. From his escritoire he fished a vellum packet, sealed in indigo wax, my script in his looping hand. Yours alone, Alina. Sterling my solicitor delivers postscript, but no it waits. Seal till then, swear it sobs, blurred my vow. What harbors it? Equity, he murmured. Tardy equity, puzzled, I vaulted it in my wall safe. shunning its shadow, meant facing his fate. 5 moons on, a crisp March dawn shattered. Grandpa Edmund slipped away in slumber, painless, his ticker retiring at 18:09. Grief hollowed me. 3-day sobs in my loft, mid-procedure in sterile scrubs, looping city blocks in the coop. I'd orphaned, my soul seer, my wholeness weaver, the right, peculiar. Folks wept, theatrically. Lydia dabbing silk, Harlan stoic, Victor fidgeted, eulogy a chore. Sophia murmured asides, scrolling discreetly. I fronted the pews in charcoal silk, lids puffy, clasping Grandpa's cool palm prelude. Gratitude unbound, old bear I for your sight, your shelter, your decree that their blinders don't define me. Post-right sterling silvered barrister, Oxford satchel scarred sidled up. Dr. Hale, he intoned, velvet formal. Edmonds, codicils demand privacy. Pronto, pressing briefs. Mom eavesdropped, bridling briefs, where blood his cash splits. Even sterling's mean, bland steel. Madam Hale, deference noted. Yet, Edmund stipulated, Dr. Hale foremost. Ensemble recital follows. Victor loomed, aura invasive, preposterous. What whispers with a she scarce dropped by. The barb stung. I'd logged more hours than their collective tally, but I held mute. Writes hush. Tomorrow, my digstry sharp, I set sterling. That gloaming, I unearthed the packet, tracing Grandpa's ink, paper whispering secrets. What reckoning, wise one, I breathed to vacant walls. What equity delayed, Sterling's parley unveiled, wonders unforeseen. He wheeled in twin valises, rebuffing my brew, diving direct. Dr. Hale, Edmund adored you unbound, paramount, all orbits your merit. Merit how? He unclasped the first, yielding a cerulean dossier. Edmund, keen sentinel, tallied decades. Slurs Elijah's tilt to Victor, Denise's blind eye to your toil. Every erasure, every eclipse, he chronicled. Throat knotted, aloud from alien lips, it pierced. He charted your ascent, solo peerless healer. Thus, his trove to worthy hands. Dossier unfurled, 50 leaves, notarized fortress. Edmund bequeaths you wholesale, 4.2 million liquid manor, at 600K, rare tomes thrice, that personal trove, sans his lore you'd cherish. Breath stalled, 4.2, precisely 4,870,000, to Harlan and Lydia, 75 grand apiece. Victor, 15K and missive. He tendered a slim sheath for Victor's right recital. Edmund decreed truths, voiced, fingers quaked, claiming the draft. Legalese, looped. Alina claims all. Elena sole steward. Alina toils heir. Ironclad, Sterling's lips twitched. 3 years forge, 6 council vetted. Contest, futile folly, why this rift? Equity, Doctor, your fold frayed itself. Edmund tallied the bill, more. Felice gape. 2 years passed. Edmund tasked me probe Victor's ledgers, revelations stark. Crimson sheaf. Ledgers, liens, trails. Victor harbors 410K arrears cards, maxed. Loans, predatory. Ventures, vapor. Domicile, shadow lien, unknown to sires. Foreclosure looms, triple moons hence. Horror and thrill ward as I scanned. Golden boy, fiscal ruin. Edmund foresaw Victor's post-mortem plea ends the skew. No balm for the feckless from his vault. Parents privy, now Victor's veil tight, but veil's tear. Sterling's gaze pinned, final charge, verbatim, whether the gale unafraid. Alina, you're there. Titan, combined, guilt slashed. Recall their erasures, recall my vigil in your void. Tears cascaded, in my sanctum, before this proxy. I mourned the patriarch who'd armored me beyond the veil. Mourned, the child starved of dew. Right recital dawned 5 dawns. Own in Sterling's oak paneled den. Air thick as fog. Tension hummed, civil, expectations of equitable carve. Lydia, in sapphire crepe, pearls prim. Harlan in pinstripe finery. Victor and Sophia entwined. He cocksure, she beaming artifice. Sterling intoned preliminaries, then tallies. 2 son Harlan Hale, 75,000, beseeching grasp that coin redeems no voids. Dad dipped head, appeased heady nest egg. To Lydia Hale, 75,000, imploring muse on motherhood's marrow. Mom's brow creased at the barb, but brass smoothed it. To grandson Victor Hale, 15,000 and epicel, protestator now voiced, hush entombed. Victor perked, 15, mere, 15. Sterling pressed, deaf to quake. Victor, 44 years I've gauged, wasted boons, parental troughs drained, sans grace or blush. Scorn for Alina, who eclipses sans aid. 15 exceeds your honest yield. Victor erupted, stool toppling, thunderous, farce senility, sterling quelled, composure, sir, unconcluded, psych evils thrice faculties, pristine, contest, your writ, but defeat dawns. Sophia tugged, darling, abideful here. He righted, slumped, jaw granite, throat cords taut, mom blanched, dad floor gazed, sterling resumed, Alina forged sans cushion, sans scepter you clutched, she embodies your could-have-beens, sans sloth's shroud, thus, residue wholesale to Alina, wholesale quantum, Lydia Pierce, 4,870,000, assets adjunct, sterling flat, bedlam bloomed, Victor bellowed, injustice, my poison, vows to litigate Baron, Sophia soothed eyes, flaying me, mom wailed outrage, not loss, dad eyed me felon-like, Alina, Harlan husked, ire veiled, what sorcery on Edmund, how swayed, none, I countered, poise feigned, blind till 5 dawns passed, Victor Bay, puppet master, craved my crown, never craved, Victor, merely claimed, what diligence yields, truth, blurted, lifelong caged, Victor lunged, sterling, interposed, restrain, or constables, this festers, Victor seethed, contest till your ruin, proceed, I rose, but pre-lawsuit you can't fund, no Edmund's probe pierced your veil, 410K debts, shadow lean, all bare, Victor paled, Sophia blinked, Leanne, what shadow, hush Alina, he menaced low, why, decades I muted for peace, your realm, delusions, dumb victors, triumphs, propped by sire's purse. Lydia vaulted, cease, slandering kin, Victor toiled ventures bold, not your cushy clinic perch, cushy, my mirth rasped acrid, lux lottery, years I burned midnight oil, while Victor chased sunrises, post-marathons in wards, while he crafted legacy while you lavished him, sacrifice, mom not serendipity, alien to you, ungrateful wretch. Lydia spat, our sacrifices, name one for me on Murd, tenfold on Victor Voigt, thrummed, verdict rendered, thought so, I snagged satchel, sterling, dispatch sick, I depart Alina, Harlan cracked, shun coins, curse bear the fold, doorward I wheeled, spared, you sundered at Ian's past, Edmund merely billed, that Eve, please, flooded Lydia's sobs, Harlan's pleas, Victor's faux olive, I ghosted barricaded lines, space to metabolize, I'd banked modest bequestedy grand, tops, not this avalanche, moons blurred in, legalese titles shifted, vaults swelled, Edmund's meadow-framed cottage, mine, his, synapse scrolls, my loft spines, canvases bloomed walls, priceless, affirmation that my voids echoed real, my worth etched indelible, Edmund's gift, mirror to madness, proof I wasn't phantom, Victor contested, as vowed 8 weeks farce, till his counsel folded, 15 grand Harvard on fees, plus borrowed 5 vanities toll, folks faded post, no bailout beckoned, cycles spun, 2 years, then 3, my rhythm pulstra sections, lectins, miracles, mid-maze, Edmund's yield, prudently parked, yields, surplus, to my stipend, I'd mulled a legacy lodge, honoring his ecobot, bided for depth, beyond digits, then moon 3, post-right, Sophia's chime honeyed, Alina, ages since discourse, rift ran raw, but Victor and I proffer peace, join us Sabbath eve cozy, kin supper, sires to mend the fractures, gut screamed, snare years, void, abrupt thaw, ploy for purse, yet that vestige girl, starved for hearth, yearned credence, change, reflection, sight at last, when I hedged, Sabbath, casual fireside fare, we've pondered deep Alina Victor's Rippondere's own, crave mending true. Rehearsal laced her lilt mirror, ponder I, address texts, click, ping, their split levels, Kurds, at least, Leanne lagged, days, board logics, Claxon versus Heart's hush, chance deserved, 2 years, mall enough, function fold feasible, ever crave truth past flags, Sabbath dawned, eye armored, subtle, taupe sheath, poised, sans parade, nor frailty, drove palms damp, their craftsman facade, unchanged manicured lawn, sage trim, twin rides curbside, Harlan's sedan, Victor's weathered Jeep, chime peeled, Sophia swung wide, beam broad, lilac linen draped her tresses, sculpted Elena, bliss, you graced, enter, within wafted pot roasts savory beef time-kissed, table gleamed, ivory cloth, tapers, crystal, overkill for casual. Folks lounged in, Lydia in emerald velvet, Baubles novel, Harlan, in chambre, and China. Ataya screamed occasion. Alina, mom air-kissed, rigid to beat, radiant, bit gaunt meals skipping, barbs velveted, thriving, thanks. Victor emerged, pantry ward, flask red in fist, leaner, shadows, crowning sockets, silver threading temples, years whip. Sis, he beamed, seeming sincere, grateful you came, waits the world, invites honor. I autopiloted, radar pinging, supper sparked, banal climbs, headlines, fluff, Sophia ladled roast, frills elaborate glazed roots, popovers golden, Ferrex, effort etched, yet ether crackled glances, Victor Sophia grins, half-hit, Lydia toyed pendant ceaseless, Alina Harlan carved, we've brooded on Yoroa Kadira calls, script Q, I, imbalances, Lydia bridged, Victor tilted, unfair to you, perhaps, I've evolved, Victor layered, mused my slights, your pains, sorry, true, Elena brought, abysmal sib, words rang right, timbre, truish, but viscera vetoed, theater, tuned, apology noted, I knew, we crave, Sophia leaned, charm cranked, rebirth, blank slate, past shelved, Victor sip, kin, venture binder, unifier, hook bet, venture, my brew, Victor Valitz, wellness retreat, fusion med, holistic havens, game changer, your lore, networks, gold, invest, I sliced, hours collective folds, stakes shared, you prime cut, grandpa's nod, yield for good, there, Edmund's hoard, their thorn, stakesome, Victor hem, kickoff, Tuatk, ironclad probed, deep, margins mint, NIA his arrears, per Sterling's ledger, HMI water sip, no rush, Sophia swift, Mulfold's forge, Edmund trusted you, Harlan layered, your graft, but unity, his wish, I'd wager, Edmund weapon, the explicit I surveyed, Lydia hopeful, Harlan nodding sage, Sophia scripted, Victor von core cleave not grief, but prism clear, no yield say haze, nay, I dropped, pebble plunk in Ponstel, nay, Victor echoed, deft, no stake, no Tuati to cloak Detz's dream, no play in your reconciliation review for Edmund's vein, masks slipped, Sophia's bemeist, Victor's glare knifed, Lydia's side sharp, misread all, Alina Victor strained, coins not cruxfolds truly, 2 years, blackout nil calls, zilch, now, Tuati shy, I'm kin reclaimed, theatrics, Lydia cut, postcodicil please, you spurned, please for split, guilt goads, my unfair for Edmund's writ, know how fair you, no chatter, coin alone, called coin hours by right, Victor Vena, Edmund Adel, do wove webs, lucid as your lax, Victor Evels, thrice sealed sanity, contest crashed, caused truth, triumphed, pet always, he swelled, coddled choice, superior sneer, baseline dignity not pet, what you withheld, Victor's chortle cracked, you lorded career crown, life flawless, us judged, flawless, solo scarred sans your scepter, all mine sweat one, yours, he vaulted, stool, screech, your sanctimony sickens, victim veil, same starts we shared, I mirrored rise, starts, your tuition blank, car, at sweet 16, cradle 240 bankrolled, Nemean baron, privilege, pyramid, Victor you peaked, pissed it away, 'cause no spark like yours, he roared at last, no, prodigy badge, normals stumble where mere mortals, veil torn, not supremacy, but envy gnawed, no prodigy for probity, I soothed, no genius for grace to gifts, no flair for family fare, Sophia snapped, are ignited, you swan, in pedestal perch, our flaws flayed, no men gloats your gospel, came for feigned foldia bait, found forecast, fiscal feint in kin's cloak, selfish cur, Lydia frosted, Edmund scorned this bitter hag, kinsbane, sting landed, but rebounded, endless enough's void, Edmund beam, I braced, I heeded self-worth first, use unbowed, folds forge in fealty not vain, vamoose, Victor menaced, stalking, despise, doors yours, gladly, satchel snared, then Victor's twist, he seized his stew bowl, vapors curling, and appended it o'er me, broth blazed trails down brow, neck, spuds pelted, agony flared, shock dwarfed, 20 stares from den's throng, late arrivals who'd eavesdropped eternal, 10 minutes evict my hearth, Victor poshut flush, cords corded, 10 to exercise my fold eternal, void reigned, none budged, none bade foul, folks plate stared mute, Sophia's claps kindled measured, mounting, den echoed, napkin doused face, breath steadied, 67 years ledger closed here but, I know mute shade. Satchel yielded craft cash, hurled. It snowed sheets, hour, platters, flames, apt Iarctica. 10 ticks. Your mind evaporates. Victor's smirk, stuttered fear flashed, fleeting. What's this? Sophia snatched leaf. Edmund's codicil. I swiped onion fleck, forgot. Recite Victor's pittance clause. Known lore, Victor growled. But your peanut gallery. Den jabbed friends wrapped. Raptors now. Craved crowd for my call. Feast on full feast. Leaf 2. Your ledger. Victor 410K. Sophia clued on Shadowlean. Eviction Eve. Sophia wheeled. Victor ward agape. Lean shadow what? Lies. Victor quavered. Proofs. Plenty. Leaf 3. Lean richer ink. 18 moons past. 90K at 28% shark terms. 'Cause banks balked your blight. Sophia scanned. Pallor plunging. Victor's. Real. Whisper whipped fury. 90. Where flushed. Unspent. Sheaf 4. 5. 6 fanned. Like aces. 35K loan fibbed. Filings fraud fringe. Pard in hawk 9 moons. Suit. From XLI 60K swiped. Victor lunge. I sidestepped. Hands off. Stew. Scorched. Next. Cops crave your fraud file. He hulked heaving. Hold. I savored crumble Edmund's trove. Deeper directives. Verde folder. Recall brewery backers. 5 years scammed. Sires 60 grand sealed lips. But clause. Fresh fraud voids. Gag penal path. Hush hued. 3 moons past. Your revival consultancy Leo same snare. Upfront ghosts. Vanished vows. 5 fresh fleeced false. Victor affidavits. Mails. Your scrawls incapable oaths. Plus. Phone aloft. This eve's real. Assault amid attesters. Sophia's sheet slipped. Shock to abyss. Who? Victor. Identity fraud. He clutched. She wrenched free. Endured bluster. Busts but cons. Casualties. Clink. I dived not. Solicitor for Splitstat. She stormed. Engine growled ghosting void. Victor sagged. Crown cradled 45. Facade felt. No strut. No shield. Just consequences crush. Yet unfinished. I unyielded 8 ticks left. This hearth your mine. 10 tick exile. Who's truly? Victor surfaced slow. 13 years by. Sires 60 down. Mortgage muddled refis thrice. Shadow 90. Quad moons. Shy foreclosure. Debt dissolved. Final deed. Me. 320. Paid bank pact. Title mine. This. My domain. Hush holy. Den denizens breathless. Spectacle spent. Impossible. Lydia lit. His nest unstillable. Stolen. Secured. Evict rightful. I watch ticked. 9 gone. You're all ashes. Alina mercy. Harlan frack. Sib's blood street no fate. Mercy. He stewed me. Why spare sands shone. I crouched. Victor low. But cruelty. Not my creed. Bargain. Bide 6. Moons my roof. Real wage. Debt dent. Life lift. Rent. 1500 moons. Market true. Timely. Year end. Mull resale. My cost. Sans usury. Fail. Hollow echo. Outsail seals. Realms writ. Victor hours. Eternal. Dawn here. Rose door bound. Paused. Parental pivot. You. Lydia. Harlan. 67 quests for your quorum love. Laud light. Slaved. Synapses. Shifts. Scaffolds. Chasing proud someday. Tears traced. Stew trails freedom's flood. Not fall. Edmund unlocked. Fealty unbeggared. Achievements unby love. Free gift or forfeitant yours. Crumbs clawed. Victor bunketed. Gratis Elena. Ceased Lydia keen. Folds fracture. Fractured. Your forged tilted scales. Ego's ease. Verity's fex shunned. I christened a chasm. Petite pouch placed. Yours duo drafts. 30K each. Edmund's yield outstrips your seed in him. My schooling. My shade. Last largesse. No coin. Harlan feign not too hungered since codicil. This sub-scheme side. Claim but final. Post up to fade. No rings. Rights. Reaches. Threshold. I tarried. Edmund nailed it. You'd flaunt. Dr. Alina can crest. Broadcast triumphs tide. Recall then. My vigil voids warmer. Fame bloomed. Netside nods. Lost lobe liberations. Global gigs tendered. Kin queries. Grandpa. Edmund. Finest forge. Pivot. You unfit my saga's stitch. 10 ticked out. My spenchers. Voided. Sun-stripped hearthmate. Triumph wrappings. Daughter. Doff not spite. But sight. Worth self-sourced. I strode free. Chin crowned. Stew sodden. But soul sword lightest in epochs. Sobs trailed. Backward. Barren. 3 cycles waned. Since. Victor heeded. Liquidated luxes. Restituted rooked 6. Souls salvaged. Sales, post-rab but decent. 1500 prompt moons. Detent dawns. 8 years to parity. But pivots pure. Sophia sundered. Relocated coasts. Folks flung feelers. Year 1 ignored wholesale. Faded. Edmonds tranche. Birthed whole horizon initiative. Full sales for brain-bound. Youth from fold forsaken folds. Self-sculptors. 3 cycles. 52 scholars sparked. Each award. Edmonds echo in eyes grickland unquenched. He'd glow. In finale. Folds not vain. It's worth witness wenchia. Sight in shade. Edmund my fold. These 52 hordes. Hence their kinnet. Respect rooted. Love-laced. Built mine. Blood be damned. You know. For ages. I figured family was fate's fixed Dilbert's unbreakable chain. But truth. It's trust's tower. Kindness keel. Respect's root. I chased ghosts' graces from graves. Incapable. Cease the hunt. Peace Edmund aced it. Vain may vain. But respect rivets and endures. If this resonates. If my yarn yanked your heartstrings, drop a thumbs up. Let's tally the tribe. Curious. Your corner of the map. Clock's cue. Comment it. Crave the channel's camaraderie. Tip a token. Fuels the fire. More tales. Dive the playlist. Sub up. Thanks for the ear. The empathy times treasure. Till next, we've